Hello everyone. Welcome to a new video that I have not done before. This will be the first of its kind, but it's going to be going obviously with Magic the Gathering content. And I don't know if I'd call this like a deck tech or a like Will of the Council where I'm going over rules. I'm thinking maybe I'll call this something like a commander breakdown or some sort of commander review or something. I'm still working on the name, but I wanted to start making tabletop game videos again, specifically about Magic, because I love Magic the Gathering. So I'm going to try and keep this short. This is the first one that I've done, so I don't know how long this will be. I may shorten the format. I'm going to be referencing my screen right here. And in post, you guys are going to see a bigger image of the individual cards I'm going to talk about. But I'm hoping to keep this a lot shorter than the Magic videos I've done in the past, as far as like Will of the Council. And I'm thinking I'm going to try and go shorter videos on my Magic the Gathering content as a whole. So without further ado, I'm going to do this commander review or commander breakdown kind of video. And I wanted to start with going all the way back to the origins of the legendary creatures, legendary planeswalkers, the creatures that you can choose to be your commander for the EDH commander format. So I went all the way back to Legends. And so what I'm going to do for each of these videos is I'm going to review every single commander that has ever been released. And I'll talk about its legality as well, if need be, because some legendaries are no longer legal in Commander, or they were made illegal before they were ever even printed, which we will definitely get to. So, and then hopefully in making these shorter videos, I'll be able to make a lot of these videos faster. So we'll see how it goes. I'm still going to be making video content on top of this. So this is the first one. So today we're going all the way back to Legends, and I am doing each of these creatures in alphabetical order. So we are starting today with Adun Okenshield. Now, Adun Okenshield. I love this card. I think this card is a lot of fun. And when I was going to build this deck, I had some fun ideas with it that I came across on the internet that I thought was very interesting. And we'll get into that. I kind of have a layout of how I want to go through this breakdown or review. So let's start off with the card information first. Adun Okenshield is 3 mana, green, red, and black. It is a legendary creature. I don't remember its subtypes. Let me pull it up here. It's a human warrior, I think? Adun Okenshield. A human knight. On the card that you're looking at right now, it obviously says Summon Legend on it. So this is a human knight, and for its same mana value, green, red, black, and tapping it, I can reanimate any one creature from the graveyard to my hand. The nice thing about this card is the next thing I wanted. Oh yeah, and it's a 1/2 human knight. The nice thing about this card is the next thing on my list to talk about is the rulings for this card, and there are no rulings. So that makes that really simple. All you do is pay the mana, tap it, and you get to return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. That is important to note. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Alrighty, so fortunately no rulings on this card, no special interactions to note. We obviously will cover those on more complex cards in the future. I just had a interesting discussion recently involving Krark, the legendary goblin, with partner, and the rulings about him tossing coins when you cast instants or sorceries. So when we get to stuff like that, we'll get into those details. For Adun, however, the next thing I'm going to talk about is what deck of mine he is in. I have not made a video about this yet, but I may in the future. I've done a couple deck tech videos for like the 60 card decks that I have. However, the format I love to play is the commander format, and so I made it a goal of mine to make a deck for every commander to be in. Not that I will play with every commander, because obviously some of them are not legal, and some of them are not even like easy to get their hands on. Like some of these legends are very expensive due to the fact that they are not reprinted a whole lot. I can tell you right now, my Adun, and maybe I'll put the art of it on here, my Adun is not an actual card, it's a proxy. But I love this card so much, I really wanted to build a deck with it, so I did. The deck in particular that I made is currently in a green, red, black Jund Blitz deck. So the interesting story with that is when I was originally going to make this deck, I had a different idea than specifically the Blitz mechanic, which I'll go into in just a second if you don't know what that is. I was looking online on how to build this deck, and I came across a Reddit feed, I don't remember, it was forever ago, where this person had talked about pairing Adun Okenshield with a card called Ball Lightning. Specifically, let me scroll down here and I'll read it. Specifically, Lightning Skelemental, because Modern Horizons had just come out by the time that this person posted about it. Now, Lightning Skelemental is a red, black, 6/1 elemental skeleton with trample and haste. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards 2 cards, and finally, at the beginning of the next of the end step, sacrifice Lightning Skelemental. So this person started playing around with this idea of playing with Ball Lightning, Lightning Skelemental, any of these cards that have a high power, low toughness, that have haste, and usually trample, but some form of evasion. And then when the turn ends, they die. They sacrifice themselves. And I loved that idea because I remember Ball Lightning specifically and how cool of a card that was. Just throwing 6 damage really fast and then it's gone. And I was like, this is great because Adun, for 3 mana and tapping it, can reanimate it back to your hand. So I decided that I wanted to make a Ball Lightning Jund deck with Adun Okenshield at the helm. And I think the reason why I was very excited about this is because Adun isn't necessarily that powerful in bringing it back to your hand, but it would have made a fun casual experience. One of the things that you'll know about me, the more I get into these videos and any other Magic videos, is I enjoy the social aspect of Commander, I enjoy the casual aspect of Commander. So sometimes I'm not necessarily building a deck to win, but I am building a deck to do something cool, and to me this seemed cool. Throw a big monster, get some value out of it via combat damage or sack outlets, and then reanimate it and do it again. And so I thought this was so cool, and I was so excited, and I started like getting the cards for it, and then Streets of New Capenna came out, and they introduced the Blitz mechanic. So for those of you who don't know what Blitz is, and I'm sure I'll pull one up in the video here, Blitz is a mechanic where you can, I believe it's an alternate casting cost to the creature. I'll double check on my phone here. Yes, it's an alternate casting cost, and when you cast a creature for its Blitz cost, it gains 2 following attributes. 1, when it dies, you get to draw a card, and then also it gains sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, one little quick caveat that I will make here is that to clarify, Blitz, as you see on the card in this image right here, the blitzed creature gains haste and gains the ability to draw you a card when it dies. Then there is a delayed trigger that at the beginning of the next end step, you must sacrifice this creature. So a little clarifying there. I cut a huge chunk of me like trying to explain that, and I just kept missing details. So anyway, back to where I was. So that is Blitz, and that came out in the Jund deck for the Streets of Capenna set. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's for the Riveteer deck. And since Blitz is the Ball Lightning deck on steroids, I was like, oh, well, I guess that throws the Ball Lightning deck out the window because I have the Blitz deck now. So I got the Blitz deck, and it's very fun. It obviously has a lot of advantages over the Ball Lightning deck, and I'm going to go into that right now as part of the next segment, which is these are the decks that I would put Adun Okenshield in, or I have put Adun Okenshield in. So we're going to get right into that. So to start this off, I'm going to do 3 decks, and I'm going to go through various cards of what I would put in those decks. I'm going to talk quickly about like what is the main theme of the deck, the sub theme, and I'm going to do that for 3 different decks. We're going to see how long this video is with 3 different decks, and then I'm also going to talk about some of the more popular decks that are like on EDH Rec. So to start off with, we'll start with deck idea number 1. This is the one that I found online on Reddit. This is called the Ball Lightning deck. Now this person, again, I don't remember their name. If I pull it up, I'll put it in the description down below. To give them credit, I'll just put the link to their deck tech. But the Ball Lightning deck, this person started playing with the 3-color deck with Adun, and then they eventually made it a 5-color deck because a lot of the Ball Lightning cards are elementals. So they made a 5-colored elemental deck, which is pretty cool. However, if I stuck with the Jund theme, this is what I was going to do. The main theme of this deck was the majority of creatures needed to have haste and some form of evasion, and obviously a preferred higher power over toughness. Now the evasion is usually trample, haste plus trample, but it can be haste plus skulk or haste plus flying, haste plus menace, any way to try and secure damage to your opponent before they died at the end step. So that was what I was really looking for in the deck. The next kind of sub-theme, like I said earlier, was this person went on to make an elemental 5-color deck. So I kept the elemental sub-theme, but I kept it within the 3 colors of Jund, or red, black, green. I did that in the wrong order, but whatevs. So here are the 10 cards that kind of fit what I was thinking of when doing this deck. Now these may not be the best of the best, but these were the ones that I liked. So for the ideal archetype to fit the main theme of the deck, the one that came up was Lightning Skelemental, which I read earlier, and I've pulled it up now for you guys to see. Black, red, red, Elemental Skeleton, 6/1, trample, haste. When it deals damage to a player, that player discards 2 cards, and then you sacrifice it at the beginning of the end step. Very simple, very straightforward. And with Adun, you can tap him to reanimate your best one from the graveyard and do it again on your turn. Then we're going to move to draw. You'll see that I've broken all these down into like categories. So the first one, Lightning Skelemental, is like the ideal card. Then for draw, I picked Skull Clamp. That was the one that just popped out to me. The problem with Skull Clamp is most of these creatures already have 1 toughness, so you may want to do something a little different than Skull Clamp, but at the time, this is the first one that came to my head. Skull Clamp is an artifact equipment for 1 mana, and then it equips for 1 mana to a creature. The equipped creature gets +1, -1, and whenever equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards. There are a lot of other cards out there. I kind of tried to stay to things that were more in a more comfortable budget range. Some of these may go above most people's budget. Some of these are going to be well under people's budget. I tried to stay kind of low to the budget, the low budget range. So there are much better options than Skull Clamp. But the main idea is you want cards that give you cards that draw when your creatures die. Or they draw you cards based on the power of your creature, because a lot of these are very high power at a very cheap cost. So that's what you're looking for. As far as the ramp package goes, you're kind of looking for the same thing, but honestly, this is a little outside the bounds, but I did do Secura Tribe Elder, which is a Snake Shaman, 1 and a green, 1/1, and he has a free sack outlet ability, which lets you tutor a basic land onto the battlefield, and then you shuffle your library. Obviously, with Adun, you can reanimate him, play him, do it again, which is very nice. So, things that benefit you from sacrificing your creatures to give you mana is also really good. As far as target removal, I kind of struggled on this for the entirety of the Adun inspired decks. Trying to stay within like the confines of what is the theme of the deck, what is it wanting to do, and how can I find targeted removal that kind of fits what we're doing. So this one's a little out there. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on it. But target removal, the card I picked would be Warstorm Surge, which is a red enchantment. It's 5 and a red to play, and it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. And I like that because your creatures are going to generally have high power. Lightning Skelemental has 6 power, so it'll be able to come into play, blow up a blocker, or deal an additional extra damage to the opponent, and then you get to swing in more damage at them. So big powerhouse, just throwing out damage as fast as you can. I thought it was fitting. Let me know if there's better options. Obviously there's like more traditional removal options out there, but if there's something like flavorful that I missed, let me know in the comments below. Board wipes. This one was very tricky, because obviously your creatures are going to die anyway, so you're not really too worried about that. At the same time, you don't want to necessarily do a generic board wipe. I don't know, I struggle with this one, because board wipes, you don't really need to worry about board wipes because your creatures are going to die anyway. So if there's a board wipe that you like that's in these colors, chances are that it's really good and you don't need to take it out or change it. What I did pick, however, I thought was flavorful in the sense of you are throwing out lots of damage really fast, so let's punish your players for trying to keep their creatures alive. What I chose was Killing Wave. It is a sorcery for X and a black. For each creature, its controller sacrifices it unless he or she pays X life. And I thought that was flavorful because you're going to be whittling their life totals down to like nothing really fast, throwing at least 6 damage a turn if you can manage it. So making a difficult choice for your opponents. I thought it was very flavorful. Flavorful doesn't necessarily mean powerful, however. There are obviously way better options. Damnation, there's, if you want to go expensive, there's Ingarrick's Wake, so on and so forth. So there's much better choices out there. However, I did think it was flavorful, and that's why I chose it. There is a protection package. I believe every deck should have some sort of protection or reanimation, something in those lines, especially in a deck like this, where your opponents are going to catch on quickly that you are throwing things and then bringing them back for repeated value. So to me, this is the most important slot to have in your deck, is extra reanimation to back up Adun when he inevitably is going to get removed a couple times. So the card I picked for this slot was Palace Siege. I'm just going to open this up a little bit more. Palace Siege is an enchantment, 3 black black, and when it enters the battlefield, choose Khans or Dragons. Dragons, if you choose that, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. However, the one we're gonna pick is Khans. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's just Adun on an enchantment that's for free every upkeep, which you're going to need a lot of in this deck to be able to recur your value, especially because you're going to draw a lot of hate from the board very quickly in this deck. Next, every deck I feel like needs to have some sort of way to tutor out your best cards, and I tried to stay on theme with the deck. Obviously, you could do things like Demonic or Diabolic Tutor or Vampiric Tutor. You're in black, you have the best tutor cards in the game. However, to stay a little on flavor, I chose Flamekin Harbinger, which is a elemental shaman for 1 red mana. It is a 1/1, and it says, when Flamekin Harbinger enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an elemental card, reveal it, then shuffle your library, and put that card on top. Very fun, obviously fits with the sub-theme of elementals, and because it's a 1/1, you can chump block with it, you can chump attack with it, and then you can just easily reanimate it with your commander. So, recurable tutor value. Next is finding win cons for the deck. Obviously, you need to have some way to finish out the game, especially if your opponents catch on to you reanimating your creatures and they try to slow you down. So the card I picked is Bringer of the Last Gift, which just recently came out in Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It is a vampire demon for 6 black mana. It is a 6/6 with flying and has, when Bringer of the Last Gift enters the battlefield, if you cast it, each player sacrifices all of the creatures they control, then each player returns all creature cards from their graveyard that weren't put there this way to the battlefield. Pretty much, and I'll pull the card up real quick here. Pretty much this is the creature version of Living Death. And I chose Bringer of the Last Gift because 1, it's a new card, 2, it is a creature, so it is recurable to your hand with both Adun and Palace Siege. So you can do it again, you can do it multiple times. But it is essentially the same effect as Living Death, which is everyone is going to end up with creatures on the board sacrificed and creatures in the graveyards swapped, which is especially good for your deck because your deck is full of creatures with haste. That is especially important. They have haste. And I believe they have haste with the Blitz mechanic too. Yes. Creatures that are cast with Blitz also have haste, but your creatures are going to have significantly more power plus evasion. So this card makes up for a lot of great finishers when you're filling up your graveyard with those very powerful creatures. Finally, the last 2 cards, the last 2 categories I wanted to talk about was a card that helps the main theme of the deck but isn't like the ideal card, and a card that helps with the sub theme of the deck. So obviously the ideal cards for the deck are things like Ball Lightning, Lightning Skelemental, so on and so forth. And a card that helps with that is an enchantment called Molten Echoes. Molten Echoes is 2 red. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, elemental. And then whenever a non-token creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. That token gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. And since you're going to be losing your creatures anyway, due to sacrificing them, Molten Echoes is just a great bonus. And it does fit with the sub-theme of Elementals. It's kind of a dual-purpose card. Very great. You're going to be, instead of throwing 6 with Trample and Haste, you're now throwing 12 with Trample and Haste from 2 different sources, 6 and 6, which is phenomenal value. And then finally, for the sub-theme of like focusing on the elementals, we have Thunderkin Awakener, which is a elemental shaman. 1 a red, it is 1/2 power toughness, it has haste, and whenever Thunderkin Awakener attacks, choose target elemental creature card in your graveyard with toughness less than Thunderkin Awakener's toughness. Return that card to the battlefield tapped, and attacking, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Again, most of the creatures in your deck are going to have 1 toughness, and since Thunderkin has 2 toughness, he's going to be able to reanimate almost every elemental card. And since they're going to get sacrificed anyway, you don't care about the downside of having to sacrifice it, because it's already going to go. So it's a great reanimation. It focuses on the elemental aspect of the deck. Very flavorful, very fitting. Now, we'll talk about the strategy to win with this version of the deck. I could be wrong on this, because obviously you want to go fast with throwing your creatures at your opponents, but I feel like that is almost a misplay to an extreme. I think the best way to play this version of the deck is by pacing yourself, throwing big amounts of damage slowly so you're not losing your grip of cards. Because that's the problem with this deck, is if you ramp out and you just play every card as fast as you can, you're going to have no fuel left over. So what you need to do is pace yourself until you establish like your engine, your reanimation engine and your draw engine, to continuously refill your hand to have explosive turns of damage. Hey everyone, I am interjecting in post again. And I'm just gonna summarize these next 2 deck techs because they add an additional like 20 to 25 minutes to this video, and I'm trying to keep it really short. Like, it's already too long in my opinion. So this next image that you're looking at right now, this is kind of the top 10 cards, but this is for the Blitz deck. The Blitz deck is the actual deck that I have with Adun Okenshield in it, and really there's a lot of similarities. It's the exact same gameplay, it's the exact same strategy, except you're replacing all of your ball lightning cards with cards that have the text Blitz. So you don't have elemental sub-themes. I did extra recursion instead, because blitzed creatures that aren't blitzed don't die at the end of turn. So extra reanimation, and you can play this deck a lot faster than the ball lightning deck because blitzed creatures get to draw you a card, like I said earlier in this video. The third idea of this deck is one that I actually really think is awesome, and I would love to hear your guys' comments about it. This is a Adun Okenshield Adventure Jund deck. Thanks to Throne of Eldraine, we got a bunch more adventure cards. You can see here on this little image here of 10 cards, there's a lot of them that have adventures, there's a lot of them that have adventure support, and because you are an aristocrat deck, you already are perfectly fitted with the perfect Jund cards for an aristocrat deck. And with Adun and other reanimation effects, you can bring those cards back to your hand, sling them for spells, then play them for their permanent side, preferably creatures because of Adun, and then just rinse and repeat. The strategy quote I put down below was sling, fling, and repeat. And I love that idea so much. I think that is so cool. So again, if you know someone or you play with a Jund Adventure Commander deck that is this aristocrat repeat, let me know in the comments below, because I love this idea and I'd love to hear how well it does in gameplay. However, the strategy is the same as the other 2 decks. You're playing mid-range and you are going for kind of a more slower game with explosive energy. And that's where I'm going to stop it here. We'll see how the end segment of this video fits in. So, boom! Lastly, let's go back to Adun Okenshield. Let's talk about his strengths and weaknesses. He is probably one of the safest forms of repeatable recursion that I've seen so far. He can get any creature card from your graveyard back to your hand. They don't like disappear or anything, they just go to your hand and you can use them again. It's repeatable, and due to its cost, it's not necessarily gonna get a lot of heat, but when people realize what you're doing, the shenanigans, he is going to get killed. And that kind of leads me to his weakness. Because of how much it costs to use his ability, the 3 mana and tapping him, he is extremely slow. So you have to manage your mana, you have to figure out a way to balance the speed of playing the cards from your hand as well as returning them to your hand. Because once you do that, even a single time, people will target Adun. I have no doubt about that. So he's safe and repeatable, but he's also very vulnerable, especially if you're doing something explosive like ball lightning or blitz strategies. So bear that in mind. I think he's probably one of the strongest reanimators in the game, mostly because of his being able to be repeatable the entire game. However, that does put a target on his back, and he's slow, unfortunately. So anyway, that's going to do it for Adun Okenshield. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. This is obviously the very first one that I've done. I already know I'm going to shorten my format down a lot to save on time, because yeah, I'm almost at 50 minutes right now. Was not expecting that to go that long. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, what you guys liked, what you guys didn't like. I'm going to fine-tune some things on my end, and we're going to come back and we're going to continue talking about commanders in the Legends set. And in the future, we'll be talking about other commanders that come out in those sets. I think what I'll do is I'll just start from Legends and just work my way up. And I'll make as much of these as I can to till we catch up to current day, the commanders that are coming out that are being spoiled. So let me know if that's something you guys are interested in. If you do enjoy this and you want to see more, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified when more videos come out. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!